Welcome to the Ride With Us podcast, a podcast dedicated to the Prescott Rodeo Grounds and the world's oldest rodeo. It's history, traditions, some storytelling, and all the events happening at the rodeo grounds. I'm your host, Greg Mingarelli, and it's a real pleasure for me today to have a good friend of mine with us on the show, Karen Fann. Karen, thanks so much for being on the podcast today.
Thanks for having me, Greg.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, look, we're going to talk about a golf tournament that you're spearheading. But before we do that, I want to talk a little bit about kind of your family's history with the rodeo and kind of how you got involved, from the early years of growing up, and then, kind of now you're more involved again because your schedule allows it, which we're grateful for. But you always show me this photo of this bull rider, and it looks like the 1940s or 50s. So, who is that on that bull that you always show me every rodeo season?
That is my great uncle, Sid Webb, and my great aunt was Ollie Webb. That was from Uncle Sid. That beautiful picture is when he was riding a bull in the Prescott Frontier Days Rodeo. We know that it was in 1940 something, but the picture, the last number is blocked out. Some kid with a sailor hat on. You can tell it was the 40s because they're all wearing 40s type clothes. We can't see the last year, but we know it was in the 40s. Uncle Sid was, his family was part of the American Ranch. His dad married one of the Rosenblatt women. And so I know I was told years later, actually it was Judge Paul Rosenblatt that was the one that told me, I didn't even know this, that he and my Uncle Sid were cousins. And they all grew up together there on the American Ranch and out there in Williamson Valley. So yeah, so he was big rancher and then got into construction business. Who knew?
Yeah. And that's really kind of how your family got to Prescott, is kind of because of Sid and his influence on your father? Or?
Yeah. So my uncle, Sid, and Aunt Ollie never had any kids. My father was an only child and a male. So my uncle Sid had been after my dad, Jim Fann, for many years to come out here and work the business with him. I think he was looking for that son he never had, sort of thing. And when my dad got out of the Navy, I have a sister, Gail, that's a year older, and she had horrible allergies. And the doctor said, take her someplace dry. Well, guess what? Here you go, Arizona. So yeah, we came out here in 1958, and Dad worked with my Uncle Sid, and that lasted about 2 years because they were like two bulls in a china closet. I mean, from riding bulls, he became one, and wonderful man, love him. But if you know him and my dad, they were both bulls in a china closet. So in 1960, my mom and dad started Fann Contracting.
Yep.
And so that's how Fann Contracting got started and how we came to Prescott.
One single backhoe, Mike tells me.
One backhoe and one dump truck up on, we rented a house up there from Mr. Smith up there in off of Groom Creek. And then they were putting a new little area in, it was called Karen Drive. And so my mom and dad built a house on that one. So, cause that's what you did back then. But I'll tell you another cute story if you want to hear about it, is Mr. and Mrs. Smith, who is Fred Lindquist's wife's parents. Okay.
Yep.
Anybody following all of this, right? And so when we moved in, and they owned the subdivision, and they kept inviting me over and giving me cookies, and they were sending me home with all this stuff, and got this great little cowboy belt that was all engraved. It said Karen on the back. And so I spent a lot of time at Mr. and Mrs. Smith's. And then many years later, probably about, 20 years ago, I met the Hacienda, and Fred and his wife, Karen, were there. And we got to talking, and I happened to say something about living up there. And she goes, I wondered where my belt went. So it was her belt. Her mom and dad were giving away all of her stuff to me because I was the Karen. She had gone off to college. And so here was this new little Karen, and she was an only child. So so we've laughed about that a long time.
Secondhand belt with Karen. That's funny.
Prescott.
I remember those days too. Hand-me-downs. We did a lot of that. So your start really with Prescott is 1958. Yeah.
Yep.
So tell us a little bit about growing up in Prescott and coming to the rodeo parades? How were you involved at that point?
Well, so my mom and dad, obviously coming from Missouri, they were not, my mom's parents owned a chicken ranch in Carlisle, Illinois. And so she had some farming background, but dad didn't. So consequently, they didn't have any close connection other than my Uncle Sid. And then Uncle Sid and Aunt Ollie were both big members of Smoke Eye.
Yep.
So they were all part of the Smoke Eye thing all the time. So we
Right.
were always hanging around with rodeo and Smoke Eye people. But it pretty well started, the kiddie parades. I played the flute. And so when the kiddie parade, we had our little Lincoln Elementary School band, and I played with Johnny Hanna and Quentin Kraft and all of our lovely people back then. Everybody remembers Johnny Hanna.
Right.
He was a police officer here. So anyway, so we could laugh all the time about how we were young kids and we were playing in the band, and we were terrible, but who knew? Who cared, right? 6th grade, I did win the little girls, the young women's bicycle tournament that we had, that Steve Scourger, who was a police officer, they had bicycle safety. And so they had this course that we had to do, and I won. And the male winner was Tommy Devereaux, for anybody that knows Tommy Devereaux. And I'd forgotten about that till we were at like his 40th birthday party, which was 30 years ago. And his mom pulls out this scrapbook, and there's a picture of Tom and Karen, 5th and 6th grade, on our bicycles holding our little prizes. So that was growing up in Prescott.
Yeah. So the kiddie parade, and then of course you've been in, I'm sure, several
rodeos every year.
Yeah.
Went
rodeo.
Went to the rodeo every year. And, back then it was, obviously it's always been amazing and great, and we always loved it. And we went to as many as we could, but all the parties that were always going on, Helen Evans, who used to be the fiduciary here, every year had this humongous party, as well as so many other people. So it was a big question about whose house do you go to for which party any given day during the whole week. So it was, and everybody knew everybody back then, right? I mean, it didn't matter whose party you went to. You knew 90% of the people there, and everybody brought dishes, and it was amazing. But rodeo was a big part of our life growing up, and the parades and the boot races and all those things that have now keep carrying on.
Yeah, it's amazing how far back that goes. So fast forward, you got busy with life and career and politics. If you don't know, Karen served in the Senate for 6 years, Senate president. So not a lot of margin for a while, right?
Well, so remember, I was on the city of Prescott council, vice mayor for 4 years. And then I was a 3-term mayor in Chino Valley, and then 3 terms in the House, and then 3 terms over in the Senate. So there was like 25 years of my life I lost to politics, is what I tell everybody.
You invested it, but I get it. So again, not a lot of margin going on. I relate to that, where every minute of the day you're busy. Now you've come back to the rodeo just a few years ago. What made you want to come back and be involved with the rodeo again?
Well, I'll tell you what, when you're growing up here, and no matter where you are, you take things for granted, and it's always just been that way, right? You never think about it. And so when I retired from politics, I also owned my own construction company, which I sold 3 years ago. So now I really have a lot of time on my hand, right? And I forgot to mention about the time for 10 years, I had a place in Chino Valley called the Phantom Ranch,
right? And
actually produced team ropings, 4-H horse shows, team pinnings, cuttings, did a lot of great fundraisers for a lot of great. So I guess that was sort of my quasi rodeo of my life, is running all that kind of stuff. But you take a lot of things for granted. And so when I had some time and was able to stick my head up and see what was really going on outside of politics and all the issues there, I realized that there was this huge issue going on with some people moving here from other states and literally don't like the rodeo. They don't like animals. They don't like cowboys. They don't like the smell of cowboys. Some bought houses around the rodeo grounds. And all of a sudden, I'm realizing I took this rodeo for granted, always assumed that it had always been here. Well, it has been for 139 years. Always took it for granted that it would always be here. And it all of a sudden occurred to me that there are people actively trying to get rid of it.
Right.
And I'm like going, no, not over my dead body. If, it's time to roll up my sleeves and jump in. I also didn't know that the parade is put on by the Prescott Frontier Day Association. Everybody automatically assumes that's the city of Prescott. Nope. City of Prescott does not do the parade. They don't do the rodeo. They generate millions of dollars in sales tax revenue from all the activities we do.
Right.
And world's oldest rodeo right here in Prescott, Arizona. So we are not just on the map in the United States, but we're on the map in the world for being the best. It's a shame that they didn't even do a resolution this year acknowledging that it was Frontier Days Rodeo Week, but maybe another council will do it.
Right. Yeah, Karen, I think as we get older, I know it's true for me. You just kind of assume the rodeo and these traditions are just always going to be there and always going to happen. And we can't do that, and I hear what you're saying. And I think it was evident for me when we got the state appropriation back in 2023. And before that, we had done a master plan. And I thought, gosh, everybody's going to love this. And everybody's going to be on board, and they're going to love the fact that we have this great master plan that preserves our rodeo and the rodeo traditions and bring more equine livestock related events to town. And on top of that, money to help get it done. And I was surprised, sadly surprised that there was opposition at that point. And so I think that's some of what you're speaking to specifically. And there is a huge group, probably everybody listening to this podcast supports the rodeo, obviously, but, and I think there's a kind of a silent rodeo majority that supports the rodeo, but it's important, like you've done, that we all activate, right? That we make our voices heard, and we truly preserve what we know makes one of the things that makes Prescott great.
I tell you, Greg, there's something else that I thought was really interesting while all that stuff was going on, and particularly lately because of the controversy with that proposed new hotel on Whiskey Row that has been a big controversy. And I'm looking at some of the people who that have just recently moved here. I mean, literally 5, 6, 7 years ago, and they are down there just don't want that hotel. They don't want this. They don't want that. And their motto was, keep Prescott, Prescott. We moved here because it's rural. We don't want urban sprawl. We don't want all this stuff. And they're just going, keep Prescott, Prescott. And I'm looking and watching this, and I see a few of those people are the same people that are trying to get rid of the rodeo.
Right.
They're the ones that are, and I'm like going, okay, wait a minute. You can't have it both ways. You're trying to say that you moved here because you love Prescott, you love our lifestyle, you love everything about Prescott, yet here you are trying to get rid of the rodeo. I don't understand it, Greg.
Right. Yeah. Which is a huge pillar of what makes Prescott, right?
Exactly.
Our town was built on farming and ranching and mining and all those, traditions that we have. And here they are trying to get rid of something that's very important to us. So I am so grateful that you've chosen to spend your time at the rodeo. Thank you for stepping up and volunteering and helping out. So what is your involvement specifically at the rodeo? What are you involved with right now?
Well, I'll tell you what, and I'm going to add something else really quickly. Not only did I jump back in because I realized the value, and I encourage anybody and everybody, if you're not a member of the Prescott Frontier Days Association, I mean, it's $40 for the family for a year. Basically, that just covers our costs for newsletters and all that kind of stuff. We have meetings normally once a month, but there's a couple of months that we don't have a general meeting because it's Christmas or
Right.
rodeo month. But the other thing that's great is not only is there a lot of old Prescott people there, so it was literally like coming home again, all these old connections. But there's a lot of really great new people that have moved here that really are embracing Prescott and the Quad City area and that rural, and they have made we've made good friends with them, and they've made good friends with a lot of old Prescott, and they love it. So I would encourage anybody if they want something to, and we have a blast, don't we? I mean,
Oh, absolutely.
and you can get involved. We have stuff going all the time, right? It's always crazy. But so what my role is I became a member and started getting after that. And then they said, Karen, would you chair the golf tournament? Because I live on a golf course and I do play golf terribly, but I do. And I said, sure, I'll be glad to do that. And then a couple months later, they said, our recording secretary on the board is retiring. Would you please consider being the recording secretary? Because basically, maybe because I have a lot of history here that would help, as do a lot of the other board members. But having been in politics and understanding Robert's rules and all everything, the ins and outs of trying to keep everybody straight, so I'm serve as the recording secretary on the board.
Okay, secretary, and then you're putting on a golf tournament. So, and this is coming up quick, so we ought to make sure we cover this for folks that are interested in golfing or sponsoring. Or tell us a little bit about the basics of the golf tournament.
Okay, Greg, we have this wonderful golf tournament every year. It's the annual golf tournament. This year, it is on Friday, September the 12th. Antelope Hills, we are playing the north course, so we have some shade with the trees. We always try and get north course. It's a shotgun start at 9 a.m., so we try not to go too early. So, everybody can get out there and just really, really have a great day. It's $100 for an individual. And it's $390 for a team of 4. So if you sign up a whole team, you get a $10 discount on that one. We have opportunities for hole sponsors. Those are $100 a piece. We have live auctions. So we usually take, 2 or 3 really good live auctions. One of the ones we have right now is a gun. And so we will be a brand new gun that we will be auctioning off. We also have raffle tickets, lots of great raffle items, baskets, alcohol, of course. What's a raffle for golfers without alcohol? We just have a really, really great time. It's a good way for businesses to promote their businesses by sponsoring a hole. They can they can donate an item, auction item, or a raffle item from their stores or whatever they want. They can do, we have swag bags, right? So we always have like some golf balls and tees and those kind of things so that all the golfers get a nice swag bag when they check in. I know Crumble Cookies, as you know, they're one of our vendors at the rodeo and everybody raves about them. And so Dennis said he wanted to do a team and everything else. And he says, I'd like to do something to help out with besides just doing a team and a hole sponsor. And I said, do you make, because his cookies are huge, right? I said, do you make smaller versions of them? He goes, yeah. And I said, I need 144 of them. He says, you got them, girl. So he will be, doing, so anything that a business would like to contribute, even things like if you want to give discounts, right? If you have a tire store or something like that and you give us some cards and we'll put them in there and offering a 15% discount, whatever you want to do to promote your business, because this is what this is all about, is a good time promoting our local businesses. And all the proceeds go to our royalty program. All of our queens helps pay for all of their costs because they travel all over the state, going to all the rodeos. And so this helps offset their gas cost and things like that.
Yeah, we have a couple queens that do that. They represent our rodeo at other rodeos, which is very important.
Oh, yeah.
To have Prescott Frontier Days announced to those crowds, those other rodeos around the state and even sometimes out of the state. But it is expensive to travel with the horse trailer and the horses and all the stuff that they do. So it's a great cause for royalty, and these girls do a great job representing our rodeo. September 12th, 9 a.m., lots of different ways to plug in. How's the best way for them to contact you or the appropriate folks for sponsorships or signups for?
Well, they're certainly more than welcome to contact me directly if they want, especially if they want to talk about sponsorships, things like that. My email address is Karen E for Elizabeth Fann at outlook.com. That's Karen E Fann at outlook.com. My number is 928-925-8199. Or they can contact the Prescott Frontier Days offices. Summer Logan and Katie Ramos are both there answering the phones. They can also give you information over the phone there. You can go on our website, Prescott Frontier Days. It's called worldsoldestrodeo.com. And you can go under events and you can click right on there and you can pull up all the information as well as the application and the forms for the sponsorships, the raffle items, anything like that. So,
okay.
And if you've got something you want to donate, just let me know and I'll come pick it up. You don't even have to bring it in.
Well, that's great. Sounds like the website's a really good way to get some good information and download the different forms to fill out for sponsorship or signing up a 4-person team. We will have all that. I believe Tony has that up on our screen right now, so you can download all that information as you're watching this podcast. The flyer should be up there. Well, look, thanks for all your work on the golf tournament. It's very important for our royalty. I'm sure it's their primary way that they receive funds to do what they do. So thanks for doing that. Just wrapping up, Karen, I'm wondering, you've been to the rodeo since 1958, long time. Is there a favorite memory, favorite rodeo? Is there an experience around the rodeo or maybe the parades that you'd think, that was a very special memory I have because of the rodeo?
I guess one of the most all of them are amazing and unique, and we always have great ones. But I guess the year, 70, 71, when they were filming Junior Bonner here in Prescott with Steve McQueen and Ida Lupino, and there was just a cast of thousands, if everybody knows. And it was such a treat to have not only all those great people here, but they filmed our Prescott parade and, all of my classmates, everybody's, in that parade. Robin Eccles was cheerleading, holding the banner. Bob Burris was running the chutes at the rodeo. Just, you look around and there were so many of Prescott that you actually see that. And, that's another thing I want to do is just give a really, really big shout out because I know you don't like to toot your own horn, and nor does our board, but you and the board members are just amazing. Jim Dewey Brown is probably one of the best rodeo managers I've ever been around or seen. They're all hardworking, dedicated. I mean, I don't think they realize how much time that you guys all put in making everything work. And as I said, it's not just the rodeo and the parade. It's year-round stuff. And you guys have made the Prescott Frontier Day Rodeo probably one of the best, most elite. We may not be quite as fancy, but you know what? This $15 million is sure going to help make some new bathrooms and make the facilities nicer, which is going to be great. But my huge thanks and kudos to you and the board members, Kimberly Lopez and Rex Henshaw and everybody else on the board. You guys just do an amazing job.
Yeah, well, thank you for that. I'm sure when Junior Bonner and that, whole film crew and that production came to town, you're probably thinking, like, we're really on the map now, right? They're making a movie of our town and my friends and folks I know are in it. So I'm sure that was really pretty special.
Yeah, it was fun. And, all the bar scenes, if anybody has not watched the movie Junior Bonner, you have to watch it. It just gives you a real flavor of what the rodeo was like back in the late 60s, early 70s. And, the bar fights down at the Palace when it was a bar. which was just always a great place. I mean, it's a great restaurant now, but definitely different than when it was a bar. The house that Ida Lupino was in over there on Marina and Carlton, I think it is.
Okay.
It's a historic house, and it's right there. My mom owned it for a period of time. She was like only the second owner and made it into a bed and breakfast. And that was the house that they used for Ida Lupino's house in the movie. So a lot of history.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's amazing. Thanks for sharing that. Well, I want to just mention again, go to the worldsoldestrodeo.com website. You can get all the information about the Cowboy Golf Classic that Karen's helping to put on.
And membership applications are there too.
Membership applications that we mentioned. Very good. And I think Junior Bonner should be like a prerequisite. You have to watch that.
That's right. And you have to answer 12 questions to pass.
No. So September 12th, coming right up, she has room for about 10 teams.
10 more teams, yeah.
And could always use sponsors. I was going to say it's pretty affordable, Karen, when I look at a lot of the different golf tournaments that are available, to spend $390 for you and 3 of your buddies to play golf is very affordable, great cause. Whole sponsors are only $100. So hopefully everybody listening there will jump on board and promote your business and get involved and bring some folks out and golf. And I think I heard that there's some sort of incentive or bonus if your team's wearing cowboy hats.
If you wear a cowboy hat this year while you're playing golf, there will be extra bonus points, extra prize.
Extra prize.
So,
okay.
Which will be fun. And also, what we didn't mention either is that not only for that cheap price of $390 for a team, you get warm-up balls. Lunch is included.
Oh, wow.
Of course, you have your cart, you have your play all day long. We've got the swag bags. We've got all kinds of great stuff and great opportunities. So yeah, it's definitely a bargain.
Yeah, it absolutely is. No, really. For all the different golf tournaments I've been a part of, this is very affordable, lots of included, but most importantly, a great cause to support the rodeo and the royalty that represents our rodeo. Well, thanks for your leadership there at the rodeo. Thanks for putting on the golf tournament. Thanks for your service on the board as the recording secretary. And beyond that, just thank you for your leadership here in the state. I'm very grateful. I look up to you because, when I was in politics, I was thinking, wow, Karen Fann, she's really somebody special that I look up to in your leadership. And so thanks for your local government, but also at the state level. I know it's a sacrifice, and we really appreciate you representing us well here in Prescott. So thanks so much.
Thank you.
Well, that's all we have for today on the Ride With Us podcast. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time.